Well, good morning and welcome to this week's video blog from the Principal's Office at GEMS Wellington Academy, Al Khail. My apologies first of all for not giving a video blog last week. I'm afraid there is a kind of particular slot in the week when I can do this, and if I miss it, I'm afraid I can't do it. And last week I was involved in quite a long meeting on Thursday morning, so I missed my slot, but we've got it this week. So I will now give you the kind of promised feedback on the inspection within the limits of what I'm allowed to say. I thought perhaps before I start doing this, I might just explain a little bit more about how the inspection process works, because I think most parents in Dubai are aware that there is an inspection system, it's annual, but I thought a little bit of insight into how it actually happens might be useful. So the inspection framework came into being in 2007, and it's run by the Dubai Schools Inspectorate Bureau, DSIB, and they are the inspection arm of the KHDA. And when it first came out, this inspection framework had 4 levels: weak, acceptable, good, and outstanding. So the schools who were around when it first came out were judged on those 4 levels. Since 2015-16, there's now a 6-point scale, so there is now very weak at one end of the scale, and there is also a very good rating in between good and outstanding. So moving from good to outstanding now, you have to go through that intermediate stage of being very good before you get to outstanding. And essentially what happens is that schools should pretty well be inspection ready most of the time, and that's something which schools in the UK have particularly got used to. You shouldn't have to do lots of special things to get ready for inspection, because inspection should be reflecting what you do day to day anyway. But there is nonetheless some paperwork to fill in, there's some online forms you have to fill in, and the most critical part is the school's self-evaluation. So there are 6 performance standards. So performance standard 1 is all about attainment and progress in English, maths, science, Arabic and Islamic. And you have to provide data on that. So the data we presented in January, a lot of it was related to the last academic year. So we were looking at student performance, attainment and progress at the end of the last academic year, but we then also add a little bit in to say what's happened in the start of this year, and they look at all the data we provide them. They look at student welfare, they look at health and safety, leadership and management. There are 6 different areas, and within all those areas there are 65 individual judgments which are made on that 6-point scale from very weak to outstanding. And then you put all those judgments together, and that gives you the overall school rating, and there is a kind of formula that you can use to work that out. So it's quite possible for schools to go up in quite a lot of individual judgments on their self-evaluation without going up overall in their rating. And then over time, if those improvements keep going, eventually you move into the next rating band. So that's the kind of process really. And as I said to you before, I'm not allowed to talk about the judgments from our feedback this time. We are told what the provisional judgments are by our inspection team, but there is a quality assurance process. All those judgments have to go back to KHDA, be quality assured, and the final judgments are not set in stone until the report is actually published, which will be a bit later this year, perhaps around about somewhere in April. We would expect all those reports to come out. So I thought you might just like to know a little bit about how the process works. So I'm just going to give you some kind of broad feedback of the kind of feedback we got. I think the first thing to say is that the inspection team recognised the considerable improvements from last year, and I think if you're watching this as a WEC parent, I think you were here last year, you've seen those improvements yourself. We certainly feel that we've made some very big improvements. I think they also recognise that to get to where we are, we've had some quite difficult decisions to make. That's part of what we do as school leaders, that we sometimes have difficult decisions to make, but those decisions have been made, they've been seen through, and we're beginning to see the benefit of those now. They also recognise the ambition of the school. I mean, obviously we have fantastic facilities, but as I always say to parents, the facilities are meaningless unless we really make the most of them. So we're not really obsessed with our facilities. We are obsessed with what we can do with them and the opportunities that we can present our students. And of course, you'll know that it's part of our WEC promise is that our WEC promise is that every student in the school will get access to our facilities so that they can use them for self-improvement. I think the thing that I really enjoyed, part of the feedback perhaps I enjoyed the most, was parental perceptions. So we've really targeted this year trying to build trust with our parents. I think there were some issues with trust in the school 12 months ago, and I think they were probably fair enough. We've tried to build parent trust, so we've got the parent council. We've got a very strong parent council now, As you know, we have the chair of the Parent Council is also on our local advisory board. So we're very much bringing parents into the process of school improvement, and we really want to do more of that next year. We really want to involve our parents and our students actually more in our school improvement planning for next year, so that we're all really on the same page. I'm not entirely sure our inspectors were kind of believing what they were hearing. So they met the Parent Council, who were very positive, which is great. And then they said, we want to meet some more parents. So we gave them some more parents to meet. And then they said, we want to meet some more parents. So I think because all the parents were saying the same thing, which was great, which was how much they liked the school. And they were saying they were proud to be WEC parents, which was brilliant. I really liked hearing that. I think they kind of thought we were just giving them all the best parents to talk to. But every parent they talked to was saying the same thing, which is fantastic. So thank you once again. I've said it before, I'll repeat it. Thank you very much for your support and for your recognition of the work that's gone in over the last 12 months. So those are the kind of key messages, if you like. There'll be recommendations in the report. What does that mean for us? Well, the underlying themes for next year are continuing progress, and in particular some of the things, the initiatives which we've started and which are kind of in progress. And again, part of the process of self-improvement and self-evaluation is that we have to be able to show that what we're doing is sustained. So we might have a good year, but what the inspectors want to know is, well, what about the year before that? And are the improvements that we've seen this year going to be sustainable in the next year? So you have to show trends over time. And of course, we're a very young school, so it's quite difficult for a new school or relatively new school to be able to show those trends over time. Now, next year, of course, we will have more data. We'll be able to show those trends over time. We'll also have GCSE results. So we have externally validated results, and we're very confident that they will show that our students are performing, a lot of them performing above the targets that the data suggests that they should be aiming for. So we're very confident that we'll have more data to show the inspectors next year, which will help us to move on even further. I think particularly as far as measuring student attainment and progress is concerned, as you know, if you've been a parent here for the last 18 months, we've been moving away from the national curriculum data in line with what's happened in the UK. This is completely gone in the UK now. They don't use national curriculum levels to measure progress anymore. It's all about the mastery curriculum, which we've introduced here in Key Stage 2 last year and in Key Stage 1 and in secondary this year. Well, it takes time. Trying to move students from measuring national curriculum levels to mastery, well, it's trying to compare apples and pears, not very easy. So the data we've got this year, it was very difficult to really work out where students were. Next year we'll be comparing like with like, we'll be a year further down the road, so that data will be, we think, will be much more solid. So there are lots of reasons to think that we will continue to make really good progress next year. So those are the kind of highlights, really. As I say, we are looking for ways of getting parents more involved in the self-assessment process and in the school improvement process. You may remember that I think around about in May last year, Mr. Matthews sent out a sort of graphic about our journey to outstanding. And in that graphic, he basically highlighted the areas we were going to be targeting the following year. And we had a little graphic which had us going, actually I have to do it this way, don't I, for you, going from good to outstanding. And the aim was to be outstanding by 2020. Now that's quite an ambitious project, but having said that, a bit like our students, we'd rather be ambitious and maybe fall slightly short of that target than set ourselves an unambitious target and reach it, because there's no challenge in that. So there we are. That's a little bit of feedback for you on the inspection. I will be writing to all parents to summarise that later today, so you can have a look at that. And as I say, you will get a copy of the full report in a couple of months' time, we hope, and then we can really begin to. We're already starting to plan for improvement, but of course we can't share that with you because it means sharing the report with you. But as soon as we have that, we'll be sharing more of those ideas with you. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was useful, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.